Hey, amazing, compassionate teachers. Just want to give a little bit of an encouragement to you guys today. Most likely, you have all received that email from a parent that gets your heart beating a little bit quickly. And if you haven't yet, at some point, you most likely will. You know that email I'm talking about, that email that comes to you after you've put out casting or placement, or you've made some changes in your school if you're also the studio owner, and you hear from a parent and it's difficult to know how to respond. Why is it difficult? Well, partly because as teachers, you love the people that you are caring for, and you might be a people pleaser. And I will tell you, at some point in your running a studio, teaching classes, you are gonna not be able to please all people. This was a personal area that really wore me down. And so I want to talk to you today about one piece of this puzzle, and that is, how do we respond to a parent when we get an email from them in which we can tell they're really quite upset? Sometimes as teachers, we do have to take ownership for something that we have handled less than at our best, I would say. And typically, you're going to know when that moment comes. So if it's an email like that, then give yourself a little space, take a few deep breaths, and then write an apology, or better yet, pick up the phone and connect directly with the parent or the dancer. However, oftentimes, there are choices and decisions that you're making that, again, like I said, won't please everyone. And so here are some tips to encourage you when you think about responding to those parents. Stop reading email at night. When you get home from work, when you walk in your house, take a break. And this sounds so simple, but it is not. If you are a person who likes to plan and get ahead of yourself for the next day, it's super easy to want to go into your email, look at it, and think ahead and make plans. However, this can be dangerous because it's also the time when parents are also doing a lot of communication. So they could be sending you an email and you're going to open it up, and it's really hard to just shut that email when you see an email from a parent. So turn off your phones, step away from the emails in the evening. No matter if it feels like that's the time that you finally have, it's going to steal your sleep. It's going to steal your headspace to just relax and disconnect from your work, which you need. Okay, second one is wait 24 hours before you reply. I know that may sound like common sense, but it is a lot harder to do than we think. Our automatic response when we get an email that is addressing something that someone is unhappy with, we want to defend ourselves. We want to immediately reply and say why we chose what we did, and we fall quickly into that automatic stress response. Do you know that the stress response only is 10 seconds? That's it. 10 seconds, and we get that trigger of fight, flight, or freeze. And oftentimes, in that moment, we are much too quick with our words and our thoughts, and we may regret it later on. So, my advice on this one, and I surely did not always do great at this, was pause, wait 24 hours, let it settle before you reply. Third, all right, this is the third one. Studio owners, teachers, directors, this is super important. You need to have someone who you can vent to. Someone who is safe and trustworthy to hear your thought and know your heart. Now, what I want to clarify is what venting means. Venting does not just mean spilling out all of your frustrations and leaving it there. Venting is really best when it can be done to someone who can really give you a solid perspective. They don't just say what you want them to hear, that they're really good at being truth speakers. This is gold if you can find this person. And fourth, when you do reply to the email, it is very important that you address the letter in such a way that you know that your parent feels heard. This is huge. Saying things like, I hear you, I can see that you are feeling, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Very important, because the bottom line is, until having kids myself, I never really understood that mama bear instinct, but man, it's real. And so they may be writing from that spot. And so, in the midst of everything else that they are feeling and the emotions that they're going through in their desire to express what's happening to their child, it's super important that you let them know that you hear them, that you see what they're concerned about, and then from there, continue on with your letter and express your opinions and your perspective. And finally, it really does go a long way to affirm back, even if you were not affirmed. Now, obviously, if the behavior isn't a behavior to be affirmed, I'm not saying that. But if you can really focus in on the dancer that is being talked about, there always is something that is valuable, important about that dancer. And if you can affirm them, that goes a mile and much more. Swap "I'm sorry" with "I'm grateful." What I mean by this is, instead of saying, "I'm sorry that you feel such and such and such and such," instead use the words, "I'm so grateful that you took the time to share with me how you're feeling." There's something so powerful about the flip in those words, and it puts you in a space of being more open to communicating your heart. I know that these are just a few tips. I know that not one situation is the same, nor is one situation simple and tied up neatly in a bow. However, I will say that I know most teachers have not gone to school for counseling. We did not go to school for human resources, and we did not even go to school, some of us, for education. And so you're learning as you're going along. I really hope that these are helpful for you. And yeah, it's just one subject, how to respond to an email. But I'll tell you what, these are very important things. This was, for me, something that I knew very little about. I didn't have great boundaries, and it cost me a lot of added stress, a lot of sleepless nights. And that took a toll on me, not just in running a school or teaching. It took a toll on me in my relationship to myself. It took a toll on me in my relationship to my family, my marriage, and my kids, and ultimately to running the school and to being a teacher. So as small as this detail may be, this matters, and I hope that this was helpful for you. Blessings, and wishing you the best as you keep navigating and learning and growing as a teacher, studio owner, and director.